We are live on the Virtual Grip Network from the Lone Star State in the heart of Texas at none other than Circuit of the Americas, a.k.a. COTA. I'm sure you're going to be hearing John and I say that phrase here a lot this evening. Last week, we saw our second winner in as many weeks as now Daniel Hill and Mark Fish have been able to punch their ticket into the OBRL Cup Series playoff. Just as the drivers enter their comfort zone, we switch it up and we head to a road course this week for race number 3 in the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. YesterYear, where past meets present. I'm Zach Chapman, a.k.a. Shaggy, along with my partner, John Hine. We're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of EGN bringing us all these sights and sounds, the one and only Ryan Seneker. NASCAR made their debut at COTA in 2021 and since has not seen a repeat winner in its now 5 races as Christopher Bell took the checkered flag tonight. And the same can be said about the OBRL YesterYear Cup Series, with this being their 3rd race at the grueling road course. Can defending series champion Josh Robinson break the curse and be the first repeat winner? We're about to find out as 36 drivers are set to take the green flag for 45 laps of non-stop green flag action. And when I say non-stop, I mean every word, because at road courses this season, we're only going to have local caution. So what that means, if there's a spin out in front of you, you just lift that off that throttle, don't make any passes in that part of the track, and we'll just keep on rolling. So if you make one mistake, you can easily lose touch with the lead pack tonight. But, John, before we kick off the racing action this evening, what do you expect here at COTA?
Well, I tell you, it's everybody who watched the Cup race today, you saw guys running a little bit beyond track limits. Well, that's not going to be a thing here with the iRacing. They kept the track limits pretty tight. It's real easy to drop a tire, and they do have a pretty strict incident level here. Going to be 17 incidences. That's going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for guys today. I think it's going to be keeping the car on the track, not getting those incident points up. And there's some points on the track that are extremely difficult. I am watching the boss, Victor Lane, right now as he's getting ready to enter the straightaway. You know, Zach, this long front stretch that he's on, you go up that hill, that's going to be their first big test. You got to go up that hill, get on those brakes, not hit the guy in front of you, not wheel hop, and then you got to do a hairpin turn on a track that falls away, and then you're busy from there on. Lots of different opportunities to have different problems throughout the night, and these guys, we're going to find out if they're up to the challenge here in just a minute.
Yeah, and you talked about turn 1, so treacherous going up that hill. The elevation, I believe you said you interviewed a man on our lovely podcast at VGN that experienced this racetrack and just said that you can absolutely just feel yourself getting sucked back into the seat going up the hill into 1.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything away after the podcast on Tuesday, but yeah, the way, and that was Sean Foltz that I got to talk to, and the way that he described going up that hill just sent chills down my spine. It sounds really cool, something I would like to experience. But yeah, but you know what? That's just like I said, that's just the first test. You got to go through the S's, keep the car planted, carry some speed through there. The track is on a shorter version than what they were last year. So instead of going around to get another straightaway where you get a little bit of a breather, you've got to take a hard turn and cut the course and go right into the stadium section, basically. And these guys are going to have a lot of opportunity to make passes, but they're also going to have a lot of opportunities to get themselves in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and one of those drivers, not throwing him under the bus, he's not on your screen, but I'm watching some of these guys still out here practice. Kelvin Masseur here, he went through the final corner, turn 16, really trying to push it, and even there, you can just lose grip in the rear end and you find yourself washing out towards the wall. So it's going to be tricky, and, something obviously that's the story all the time, green flag pit stops. Well, we're going to have them tonight, and when is the time to make that pit stop? We'll probably, dive into that here as we go on. But qualifying should be coming to a close here, John, in any second. We're going to be seeing that starting lineup pop on our screen.
And we should note that half the drivers took a qualifying lap, and others did not, maybe by dropping a tire or thinking, I just want to start this bad boy in the back.
Well, John, I think we've changed it up every week so far, but let's just go back to the old every other here. Row number 1, starting on the pole, the 33 of Courtney Nelson. On the outside, the 7 of Daniel Hill.
Josh Robinson's going to start 3rd, and James Hislop is going to roll off 4th.
Tom Ogle to the inside of row number 3. To the outside, Jerry Isaacs.
Shane Weissman, Brian Lynch, you're going to occupy the next row.
Inside of row 5, Dale Copeland in the 55. To the outside, Andy Thomas.
Greg the Hammer Hammond is going to roll off 11th. Next to him will be Daryl Weiniger.
Roger Hurley to the inside of row 7. To the outside, the boss man, Victor Lane.
Alan Wanamaker is going to start 15th in his number 74, and he's going to be flanked by Fred Wolford starting winning his 95 ride.
Kelvin Monsieur into the inside of row 9. To the outside, Chris Bates.
Andrew Kotska is going to roll off 19th, and Christian Lotion 20th.
Inside of row 11, the 09 of Dave Madsen. To the outside, Lloyd Moore.
Chris Walsh and Don Easterlin follow those guys up.
David Brand on the inside of row 13. To the outside, Sean Foltz.
Yeah, we can hear Sean Foltz on the podcast this week, so make sure you guys tune in for that. Behind him is going to be the double deuce of Bruce Pearson and Tommy Amassi.
Bill Martin to the inside of row 15. To the outside, Eddie Jones.
Mark Fish, Patrick Martindale going to start 31st, 32nd.
Torrance Childs to the inside of row 17. To the outside, Mr. Crisco himself, Robert Guarisco.
And rounding out your field tonight is going to be Lee Wordsell and Luke Lane.
Still waiting on a couple drivers to grid.
Starting
here.
from the pits, I'll bet.
You know what? I bet you're exactly right. And I do see one of those drivers starting in the pits, Chris Bates, Bill Martin, and Tom Embassy as well. So, John, a couple drivers on the same page. I think they're just looking to survive the hill here, going up into turn 1.
Yeah, and then there's several cars that are going to be dropping to the back, including the Robert Crisco. Let's see who else is there dropping back. A couple of Vic Lane and Sean Foltz are all dropping to the back, which on this track, they are going to have to be patient and work their way through the field and not make mistakes, because it's real easy to do here.
Yeah, and I imagine here when we take the green flag, disregard that standings chart. iRacing doesn't like all those people going around right now, and it's not just on our camera guys' end, because I cheat and use mine's doing the same thing. SDK will behave itself, I imagine, whenever they go across the green flag here. But you got one last chance to think about what you're doing, John. If you're on the outside here, you're the 7. What are you doing? Do we take it easy? Do we go in here and battle for the lead in turn 1?
I'm trying to think what the Catholics are doing. Is it, cross, down, right, left, right? I'm doing. Right now I'm praying to get through turn 1. That's at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing.
Well, he does the sign of the cross one last time here, coming out of turn 16. We see that green flag high. It's ready to fly. Oh, this is a long one. They're making them wait here way after the restart zone. When's it coming? The green flag waves. 45 laps at Conan. Not the best restart for the inside there, row number 2. I believe that's Josh Robinson. But it may lead the guys to us settling down here in turn 1. But we're 3 wide there, almost 4 wide. Through 1 and 2 in the back of the field. Oh my God, it's a parking lot.
Literally a parking lot. I think everybody slowed down to 5 or 10 mile an hour to get through there. But good news, everybody made it through turn 1 there, and now they're going to go down the hill and go through the S's and set up for the new part of the track.
And out front, man, that 33, like I say, this will all rotate and change for us. But right now, the driver who's listed in 9th place, that's your leader. You're seeing it. It shows him for some reason a lap down. It's all going to rotate. But, man, he's absolutely, John, I guess while you have fresh tires and you're comfortable with the car, you got to try to break out and extend this lead. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, but you know what? The first two races we haven't had a whole lot of tire wear. The way these cars slide around here, you do want to take care of these tires, because the last thing you want is be 15, 20 laps in, depending on where you want to pit, sliding around on used tires, because then you're going to be picking up incident points sliding the car off track.
And I am hopping all around this racetrack trying to find some racing action literally right now.
We got one around. The 12 is around in the... Oh,
and
more
there
contact.
it is. And that's exactly what you got to do, right, John? Just come to a stop, let the drivers go on
hold
by.
the brake.
And
Watch your relative and wait for the track to be cleared. And the 14 there of Eddie Jones is doing just that. Sitting there, and he's out of the way. He's waiting for that relative to get the all clear, and he'll spin her around, and that's exactly what he does.
Yeah, and you just see the 12. He just loses the rear end. I mean, is that a case of, we talked a little bit about it amongst ourselves, pulling out of the pits on cold tires? You know, it can be slippery, and I think that's what we just saw.
Yeah, it really is, especially that part of the track. Once you start to lose that back end, you are dirt tracking it through that corner. But one of the guys caught up in that in a pit road already is the 59 of Sean Foltz. And Foltz, you know what? He was second in their points last year. He has got, we talked a little bit about this today too. He's off to a really rough start, and it's not getting any easier for him. He's had a 49th in Daytona. Oh, he's just doing a drive-through. But yeah, 49th in Daytona, 39th in Atlanta. Now he's got to do a drive-through here.
Yeah, this is...
I'm wondering if the start and some of the scoring, what people are dropping to the back, might have caused some issues there for ran foul of iRacing's rules.
Oh, and now the double deuce, Bruce Pearson. You see him slow on the racetrack trying to pick back up speed. I think Bruce, one of those guys out here, you know, maybe not a road racer, but out here, he's always willing to learn, John. That's what we love about the double deuce.
Yeah, and Bruce is pretty smart behind the wheel too, so he'll drive within himself and try to get it to the end there. So, but man, these guys, man, there's a lot of separation already throughout the field here with this group of cars here. I think we got two groups here. You know, guys that are just trying to survive. Oh, we got another one around too. He's back and going, but I do believe that might have been the 43 that went around. Kevin Masur, we watched him in practice. Went through in that same long right-hander there.
Yeah, just so easy to lose that rear end and watch it slide out from underneath. Let's take a look at it here. And the swoop, and yeah, you know, there's just, it's not really that noticeable, but John, you can see there is a little elevation change there, and if you pick up the throttle too quick, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you know, it's easy to do, and like I said, you're basically dirt tracking through that corner once that back goes. And then the thing is too, your tires are mad at you, so then when you go down to try to get back on the front stretch, you hit those corners, car doesn't do what you think it's going to do. You have to slow down, let the tires get back under you, and that could take half a lap sometimes.
I can't think of his name. Daniel Hill, sorry, I've got the nickname. He got loose coming out of there. I didn't want to call him the trash man just yet. I wanted to have his real name said. But Daniel Hill, man, he got real sideways. And all of a sudden, James Hislop, we got a little bit of a battle for second here, John. He's right behind him. And James, he's got 3 cars behind him, so it may be go time.
Yeah, I've been watching this group now for about a lap and a half here, and all the way back to 7th. They're pretty close. It's pretty much the most contested positions on the track so far. So these guys, I think they're looking like they're just comfortable enough to be dangerous here then, where they can race each other, and they're just going to be careful about it. But some good stuff though.
And you know, you said qualifying didn't really matter, John. One of the people to not qualify started 36th, Luke Lane. He's up 18 spots already, up into 18th, and you know, that's the way to do it. You just start this thing out cool and calm, and the Code Red machine, he's moving his way up.
Yeah, just got to keep it on the blacktop. I mean, you know, we run Daytona every year, and what is our strategy? You know what? Don't worry about those fast laps. Just stay on the blacktop. If you do that, you're going to get a good finish, and I think that's really what, you know, I think most people's strategy is here. Keep it on the blacktop.
So let's see, we got a couple people coming down pit road. Excuse me, Lucian here coming down, and This can't be scheduled. But another thing, John, people coming down pit road, these maybe quicker pit stops as well. I did forget to mention, because we're at the road course, unlike other races, one quick repair this evening. That's something we forgot to touch on.
It is, and you can also get on and off pit road here without losing a lap, but there's no lucky dog either. Local cautions, you touched on it earlier. So this thing's going to run green flag to the end no matter what.
Yeah, and if you're the 33 of Courtney Nelson out front, you've got a 3.5 second lead. I mean, what keeps you focused, John? I know we do some road racing.
The track.
But let's be honest. We're not in this position very often where you get to set the pace. And I mean, I don't know. I may lose focus out front. What do you do?
You just get in a rhythm. You dance in the seat, with your hands, your feet. You're just dancing in the seat basically, and you just get into that rhythm. No cautions to get you out of the rhythm. Just get in the rhythm, settle in, and race the track. You look out your windshield. You don't have to worry about in your rearview mirror. Those guys that are fighting back there for 4th, 5th, 6th, those places. Those guys are having to watch out the front mirror, watch out the back mirror. That is hard to do on a track like this.
Okay, John, random question, and I could have asked you behind the scenes so we could have maybe discussed an answer, but I'm curious. In the NASCAR race today, they had a neat little foot camera where you got to watch the action of some of the drivers in their feed, and you brought up old school. Some of the drivers out there using that right foot to brake. How do we do it when we road race? Are you a 2-footer, or are you using the right foot for the gas and the brake?
I'm doing, I do the heel to toe method.
That is old school. I cannot do that, John. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I've got clutch, with the front of my foot on the clutch. I got my heel on the brake and kind of going over and tapping, doing all that. I don't know how I do it either, to be honest with you. The older I get, though, depending on the car, though, I'll just rely on the old auto blip and just hit the pedals and just worry about my brake pedal. In a car like this, I'm just hitting the brake pedal. But there's some cars out there that are a lot of fun. That in iRacing's a plethora of cars, the old IMSA cars, the old Nissan and that. Oh my gosh, those are so much fun to drive, doing that heel to toe and having a good time doing it.
Yeah, and I guess everything matters in racing, and it's definitely, if you can master that heel to toe, I guess for the viewers out there, now John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the real benefit in that is to being able to match the RPMs when you're shifting, correct? Just being able to keep that motor, the RPMs up a little better.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, when I run restrictor plate races, we talked about it. Guys can either let off the gas. I'm one that will match the brake just enough to keep the RPMs up and slow the car down. When I do short track racing, I'll use the brake to set the car a lot. Get the car to turn. So I'm using both feet at the same time. So I found that to be advantageous to do that, especially on short tracks. But for these guys here, I think it's hang on to the steering wheel. I bet you most of these guys are just using an auto blip and just worrying about that brake pedal only.
Yeah, and I am definitely in that camp when I am here. I have enough trouble keeping that thing straight. I don't want to worry about the clutch pedal that I have. For some reason, I bought a set of pedal. Oh, as the 18 car goes around, Bill goes around, and man, that's a tough break. The Mountain Dew machine. Able to get back on the racetrack and does a good job of waiting there, being patient. John, you know how difficult that is. You want to get back out on the racetrack, but at the end of the day, you put yourself there, so you don't want to compromise anybody else in that.
Yeah, I'm watching these guys. I'm watching all the way back in about 29th place. There's a pretty good spirited battle going on back here, and these guys are slowing down to 30, 40 mile an hour on these corners. I mean, they're coming to a stop in these corners. Now, one of the things that may be an advantage to do this, we haven't really talked about this yet, but I've heard some whispers from the pits that some of these guys that are running this pace can actually go the whole race without stopping. Whereas your guys that are up there like in the top 5, top 10, they may have to make a pit stop.
Now, not to, I'm not going to cancel out that drama here, John. But all right, so Courtney Nelson, he's last time by, he ran a 1:38.01. Drivers back here in 20th, they are in the 140s. So, I mean, how much time do we think we're actually going to lose on a pit stop tonight here? Maybe.
Well, they're not going to. Well, you might lose the lead to one of your guys behind you, the top 5, but a guy back, the guys where I would be racing, towards at the very, very back. You know what? That might be the difference between coming home 30th and coming home maybe 18th. There's a lot of points to be had by just coming up 10 spots.
Yeah, and we're watching Tommy Emissy right now, and he's rolling through those first corners, but interesting note, the leader right now is going through turn 1 as well, John. So
yep.
Courtney, he wasted no time right now in that double 3 machine, and it's pretty early, but Courtney, barring a miracle, we might continue the stretch here of 3 races, 3 different winners.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it'll be interesting when he does catch the back of the field, because now he's going to have to pick his way through a bunch of cars that are going about half his speed in some places.
Yeah, and John, I mean, I can't hog all the spotlight, and if I'm being honest with you, you know that you're the better technical driver than I am. Maybe I've got some speed at some places, but how when you come to a stop and you're braking earlier, going about 5 or 10 less mile an hour in the center of the corner, how does that unsettle the car for you when you're used to? I mean, that 33, he's been pushing the limit the whole time.
Yeah, well, if you get in too hot and you cook, he's sliding through the leader is really he's coming up on these cars really quick here and trying to navigate them, but you can see the speed difference. But you know what? If you overdrive a corner, the back end steps out. You get on the brakes and you got to push down harder to try to get the car wound up. That's when you get your wheel lock or wheel hop. Nothing good will come of that. So backing your corners up, especially in these cars, is paramount.
Now, with it being a fixed setup league, we don't really touch on this much. I mean, we will at the shorter tracks, but where we've been so far, we haven't talked much about the brake bias, John. Is that something that you think some drivers will, maybe be using here to manipulate the car a little bit throughout the run?
Oh, sure. You can tighten it up. You can loosen it with your brake bias. You can actually increase your tire wear. You make your tires last longer. You get the right brake bias, but all that takes practice, and it can vary from driver to driver and how they attack. My biggest weakness on road courses, I overdrive corners. So, I have to do something different with the brake bias as opposed to somebody that knows how to back their corners up and do that in like a lion and out, or in like a lamb, out like a lion. They can probably get a little more aggressive on that brake bias and probably pick up speed because of it.
I was just about to quote you on that because that's the truth, John. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the racetrack and I can hear that come out of your voice. In like a lamb, out like a lion. I've really tried to use that. Man, it's tough to master, but you really can't see the benefits of it. And I think we're seeing it in some of these guys up front. But we're watching Jerry Isaacs earlier. Yeah, perfect. Look at our camera guy, man. He's a mind reader. We go right back. He had to work around lap traffic, and that's allowed defending series champion Josh Robinson to really get all over the deck lid of that 51. And right behind them, Tom Ogle sees a car on his inside. We got to pass the 107, working his way up into the top 6.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about getting the lap traffic here for these guys, I talked about it earlier, about being in a rhythm. You're dancing. Well, all of a sudden you come up on a lap guy, and you're going to get out of your rhythm because you might have to go around the outside of them, or you might have to, go offline just a little bit to get around them, or brake earlier because you catch them at an inopportune time, and all of a sudden it's going to take you a lap 2-3 to get back in that rhythm, and the guy behind you might be able to pounce right then and there.
Yeah, and it really, I mean, you had talked about it. It really is catching guys at opportune or inopportune times. Yes. And I mean, Daniel, he was 6 seconds back. We saw him cut it down to 3, but now coming onto the backstretch, he just got tied up behind a lap car, and that gap goes right back to 6 seconds. So you really, it's tough, but you got to be thinking 4 or 5 corners ahead almost. Where can I get this guy?
Yeah, I mean, rhythm is a big thing, and you know, right now I'm watching the guys trying to work this traffic, and you know, guys are doing a good job of just getting up and getting out of the way. So far that's a good thing. But still, these guys are tiptoeing. I can I can see it around the track, and they're doing a really good job right now.
Yeah, and you know, that pack on our screen right there, it's pretty unbelievable. We've been through 10 laps here, and minute 40-second laps, and they're still right in line with each other. I mean, one driver makes a mistake, and they try to make a pass, then they have a little bit of a hiccup, but hey, we see the 51.
Yeah.
Yeah, now this is a case of, we heard 35 laps for those fast guys, John. This is a case of, I'm going to pit early, and I'm going the rest of the way, I think.
Yep, that's what we call short pitting in road racing. So he's gonna go in, top it off, get some fresh rubber, I gotta assume, and get back in the fight.
Okay, now obviously, John, okay, shorter pit stop time here because we're not going to get as much gas. And looking at this 51, I'm staring at it. None of the sides are getting jacked up.
Nope.
There's no tires, so fuel only. Now, do we think tire wear will be a problem for him? Because if not, you got to think the shorter pit stop, less time in pit road, this could be beneficial to the 51.
Yeah, and it's all going to depend on how you treat your car. You know, if you're sliding around and really, you know, sliding the car around, I think tires are going to be an issue if you don't get any. But you know what? If you're smooth and you keep the car straight and you're not overdriving your corners, yeah, I think you'll be just fine out with your tires.
Man, that 107, I've been watching Andrew Kotska. He was one of the guys who, oh, wow. He almost gets a bump from a lap car. That would have been close, John.
Yeah, he changed lanes there and almost wasn't clear.
Yeah, and that's a case of, you know, I mean, Andrew may be thinking, you know, he owns that part of the racetrack, but that car that's a lap down, he's entitled to his own line, and it's something that touches on John and I just talked about. If he's forced to get in the brakes there a little bit early, and something he's not used to and unsettles the car, I mean, that's something, you know, we could have seen him and Andrew end up in the fence, and it really wouldn't have been on him at all.
Yeah, and he's got two-time defending champion out his windshield, too. So, you know, when you got a carrot like that out in front of you, you want to stay in touch with him. So, you know, you see him get around the car, then that puts the onus on you to get around quickly, or you might lose touch with a guy like Josh.
And obviously, having the 3-digit number, Andrew is a rookie in this series. But like I say, I was about to talk about the briefing before we had that close call. Man, he gets a big run on Josh Robinson there, John. I think we found one of the parts of the racetrack where Andrew is really excelling. But we were warned by the boss man that this Rookie of the Year candidate could be a competitor for the win here tonight.
Yeah, he's on it too, and he's showing a lot of patience too, because he definitely looks a bit quicker than the 23 of Josh Robinson. But you know, all Josh can do is just look out the window, hit his marks. It's incumbent on the trailing car to get around him cleanly, and sometimes that's awful hard to do.
Yeah, and you know, with no stage racing, no cautions, I mean, Andrew, he's a rookie. You know, you want to make a name for yourself, but you want to make it the right way, John.
Yep.
How do you go about getting around? Because you don't exactly want to throw your weight around this early in the race, but with having no cautions, you can't give up a bunch of time on the racetrack, so it's a tough line to walk.
It is, but you know, when you come into a series, and Tom Ogle is going to pit from 6, but you come into a series, you do want, you know, look at this, look at the run up the hill.
He used the double deuce of Bruce Pearson as a pick there. What a move from Kotska. And you got to think, Josh, he probably sees, the writing on the wall there, gets in the brakes a little early, maybe going to try to cut underneath, but there's not going to be a run. And now I think if you were paying attention to that rear view mirror, Josh is who I'm talking to. This is where you can maybe learn a thing or two, because look at Andrew. I mean, he extends the gap right here through the S's. He's really willing to send that car in.
Yeah, and going back to being the new guy in the league, you know, I think we've all been there at some point in time. You know, you just kind of a feeling out peeler. You know, guys don't know how to race you. You don't know how to race guys. First few weeks, you know, most drivers, I think, come in and are just kind of feeling their way through and whatnot, and trying not to make any enemies as you enter the series and stuff like that. So, and I'm telling you, that was a clinic Andrew put on there with that pass. So using that lap car.
So now we get into the strategy talks part of the race here, John. If you're the leader, obviously you got a pretty clear windshield right now. Everybody's been getting
43's around again. I think he knows it in the wall. The 107 and the 23 just went around him too, and whoa, that was a bad spot to be back at. I mean, you don't have a choice when there's not full course cautions.
No, and I mean, looking at Kelvin here, I don't get to see the incident points. I wish I could bring that to you guys, even if I check the results. I'm not allowed to. It won't show up just because I'm a spectator. But some of these guys, so for instance, our leader, he's gone off track 3 times. Okay, now he hasn't spun or anything, but that's 3 of the 17. It'll let me know the off tracks. And if our leader, who's been running that smooth, John, has gone off 3 times already, boy, oh boy, we got a long way to go here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough track, and you're going to hear a loud exhale from these drivers, I think, when they're done. And not just because of, trying to make it to the end, because it's not easy to do. Just really busy. I would think this is one of the more physically taxing races. I know that sounds weird because everybody's thinking, well, it's iRacing. You're not. Some guys with direct drive wheels where you've actually got to put your arms into it to get a car turned, and even if you don't have a direct drive, the amount of work you're doing with your hands and your feet here, I'm telling you, I bet you burn some calories no matter what you're driving.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there have been some times where we've done some of those endurance races, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I have trouble unlocking my hand off the steering wheel sometimes. You get that trigger finger, you're gripping so hard, and you're just on the edge. But there, we saw it a little bit ago, David Brand go by another car coming down pit road, the 59. It's that time, and John, that's what I was saying about the strategy. I think if you start coming up on cars slower than you, maybe you try to save some track position and go down pit road.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. It's not even track position, but think about some of the capital you got to use on your tires. You move around, get stuff on your tires. You have to work a little harder, use them up, maybe to get around somebody. So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why it's probably not totally a bad idea to pop in there and when you come up on some traffic.
And I believe the 23 of Josh Robinson, he also made his pit stop. And what is interesting about, the 18 goes around. Oh, he comes back across the racetrack. That was a close one there. I'm not too sure who that white Toyota was, but great track awareness because we could have seen his night end in a flash there.
Yeah, and when things are out of your control, those are always tough pills to swallow. If you're gonna mess up, you like to be the one to mess up. At least for me, but I'll tell you, I've been staying on Koska here. He has closed the gap on James Hislop quite a bit here over the last couple 2-3 laps. So I can't wait to see if Koska can't run down the. I think he's going to catch Hislop, and then probably he's got a way to go for Hill, but I'm kind of wondering how far back he can come from, how many he can run these guys down.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see too, John. It's neat that you mentioned that because I was looking too. Last time by, James, second fastest car on the racetrack, the fastest car right behind him, Shane Wisman. Those two are coming. They're been running in the 138s here constantly. Kotska last time, 138.19. He was the quickest car on the racetrack. Your leader, a 138.36. But the previous lap, he was in the 140s fighting some lap traffic. So if Andrew can time this thing right, he sees a big pack in front of him, maybe go down pit road and play the long game. I think we could see this 107 flirting with the leader before this thing's said and done.
Yeah, I do too. And, you talk about 2 seconds a lap when you catch and see that. Oh, and that closed the gap. The Hislop got caught up in lap traffic, and now look at that. Koska is now right on Hislop here.
Yeah, and you know the deal, John. It's not exactly fair to James, but Andrew's going to get the better treatment here. Once Hislop gets by, I mean, they're not going to float back down in front of Andrew, so that's just a tough break. And here, James had to slow down in the center of the corner. He gets him on exit. But Andrew, man, he's going to be close enough. If he gets through this section, we may see him make a move going up the hill into turn 1.
Yeah, you know, and that's always nice to have a blocker and to make that hole. And, you know, you see it not only here in road racing, but you see it in short tracks, you see it in intermediate speedways. And, oh, look at this. Koska's coming into the pits.
Yeah, you know, maybe seeing up in front of the 92. There's a lot of cars going down that straightaway, so maybe saw that writing on the wall, said, James, I'm quicker than you. I'm going to go out here. Hopefully my pit crew has got me into a clear spot on the racetrack because, well, that's something else, John. You know, we don't have the privy of. You know, some guys have a spotter to tell them, hey, you come down pit road, you're going to go into a gap. You're doing this all by feel and just hoping you're going to get slotted into a good, clean spot.
Yeah, if you come out and have a great outlap and your competitor gets caught in some traffic, you said it, 2 seconds. Well, you look how close they were when they pitted. 2 seconds is a big deal on this track. So, yeah, when you pit and the gap that you may get, that can really, really turn your race around.
Yeah, and John Ryan had the perfect view of it. It's something you said could happen to you. Come out of the pits in turn 1. He locked him up and went up the hill a little bit, so that's going to cost him time coming out of pit road. That's not what you want to have happen to your outlap. And driver's not taking tires, but that must just be a case of sitting there on pit road for those 5 or 6 seconds. They're cooling off enough.
Yeah, well, and not only cooling off, but they get stuff on them. You're picking up, you know, believe it or not, iRacing, when you're offline, you have marbles just like real life. You pick that up on your tires, and then when you go up to turn 1, turn the wheel, guess what? The wheels got junk all over them, and they don't want to grip the road, and so next thing you know, the nose shoves out, and you know you got to slam the brakes on just to turn the car.
Yeah, and last time by, our leader, I didn't see him come up on any traffic, John, but another lap in the 140s, while the 3 drivers behind him down in the 139. So, you know, sometimes maybe you can get a little too comfortable out front and not realize those ghosts are creeping up behind you.
Yeah, there could be that going on. The other thing, too, though, when you build a big lead like that, all of a sudden, you know what, you can lay up a little bit. You know, maybe not take the chances and push. So, you know what, you figure, hey, you can watch in these cars, you can watch your relative. You can watch the gap, say, you know, you got a 4-second gap, say, okay, once it gets to 2, I'll run hard. You know, you can manage the gap from the seat. You know, that's a really good strategy in my opinion, because then you're not using your stuff up, and you can kind of still control the race.
Well, John, interesting here. So drivers in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th have pitted so far. And the leader of those guys who have pitted, that man on your screen, Andrew Kotska, look at the gap he has opened up on Josh Robinson. Josh right now is making the left-hander to get onto the backstretch. You saw him there at the top of the screen. So, oh my gosh, Andrew doing that pit stop at the right time, John. This thing may have got really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, like I said, you get behind a lap car and it slows you 2 seconds a lap. That's a big deal. You come in and you get out, nobody in front of you, and you can carry on and with minimal loss there. So, yeah. And not to mention, too, we've talked about the last 2 weeks. There's some time to be had getting on and off pit road. Some guys can make up time there, too, be able to run up to the line, brake, and get your car woed up. This pit road is a little bit tricky to get on because it's a flat up-hander. You make that turn. If you cook it, you're going to end up in the barrier, but then you got a little bit of a short shoot before you actually get to the line. You got to be at pit road speed. So if you can manipulate that area, guess what? You're going to pick up some time.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, the best guys are going through the limit through that left-hander, and then they stomp the throttle, try to get up above pit road speed, and then slam those brakes at the end. But you also talked about, you know, you got to try to save these tires, because with the way some of these guys are going, I think if you're Courtney Nelson, Andrew Kotskay's still got pretty good pace out here on old tires. I don't know when you come down pit road if you want to take 4 tires, you may have to go with these sneakers the whole way.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. When I practiced today, I should have switched tires. I'm not good enough, so I mean, it wouldn't have made a difference. But I'm kind of curious, you know, if you got a 5, 6, 8 second, you know, lead and cost you 18, and then you come out, you know, 10 seconds back, you know, if you're making up 2 seconds a lap with fresh rubber, you know, it'd be awful tempting to grab a new pair of shoes.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in your camp. I think if I'm the 33. I've almost told myself this whole time, I'm going to get 4 tires. Whatever happens, happens, because you just want to be able to have the best handling race car you can have when you're the fastest performing car on the racetrack. And right now, the 33, the 7, the 92, well, basically your top 6 yet to pit is Andrew, not really close to Daryl Weininger. Daryl holding on pretty firm there in 6th. Dale Copeland right up the road, rounding out the top 5. But you're looking at that 51 Ghost Energy drink machine off the 11 of Tom Ogle. Tom, you know, I mean, we saw how well he raced at the past 2 restrictor plate races. I wasn't sure if Tom would be able to handle the road course, and John, he's doing a good job out here.
Yeah, versatile driver. Those guys always get the utmost respect from me. The guys that can do that, be good anywhere, and run anything. I know a couple guys like that, and shakes my head and completely jealous, and wish I could be like that.
Talked a little bit about Luke Lane earlier. He still is that hard charger, in case anybody else was wondering. We got
a spin right in front of the leader.
Oh, no.
It's a 93 of Martindale here, and he's trying to get her turned around. But, boy, something like that, if you're the leader, that makes your heart stop.
Yeah, and, you know, here comes P2 around him, too. He still wasn't going that fast at that point in time, so Daniel had a bit of a heart attack coming out of that final corner, but hold on. But at this point, John, now don't get me wrong, P2, everybody loves it. But what are you thinking if you're Dan? You're giving it your absolute all, and you just kind of watch this thing unravel, and man, you're not having much luck going your way.
Well, honestly, I don't know that it really changes your strategy a whole lot, because, I mean, I don't think no matter who you are, where your skill set is for these things or whatnot on this road course, your goal here is to keep the car within the track limits and go as fast as you can. You know, yeah, you got somebody running away from you a little bit, but all you can do is control what you can control. And second place is nothing to hang your head about here. So, you know, what you don't want to do is get discouraged and start, you know, not focusing, and next thing you know, you're stuffed into a fence somewhere here, out in the kitty litter or something, and you know, you take a second place car and you end up bringing it home, you know, 15th, 20th.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest things to do as a driver. Really discipline yourself and just be like, hey, you know, maybe we're not going to do better than P2, but you know, we talk about it all the time, John. 36 races, man, 26 to get yourself in the chase. Those top 3s add up, and they may not be the win you want, but at the end of the day, they'll help get you to the promised line.
Yeah, I mean, when you rack up those points, I mean, all that is insurance. I mean, that's really what you're doing. So if you have a bad night, you can fall back on a good race and balance it out. And long season, you've got to take the good and the bad, because believe me, everybody is going to have the good and the bad with a season like long.
As the 34 coming down pit road here. Just a minute ago, we were watching the 15 and the 55 roll around, and that 15 is really rolled into the 55. Daryl Weininger not close enough, I don't think, to make a move here, but it's going to have to start thinking about it, because at some point, you've made up a lot of ground on the racetrack, but if you don't get around him, you're going to be stuck there.
Yeah. But again, how much of your car do you want to use up trying to enact that pass? So, I mean, you constantly got to be battling those decisions.
And I mentioned Shane Wisman earlier. He was 3.5 seconds when Andrew Kotska made his pit stop, and I talked about him being a quick car on the racetrack. Well, Andrew's got about a 6.5 second lead over him. He absolutely nailed that pit stop. And Shane, on the opposite end of Andrew, coming out behind Ogle, Isaacson, Robinson. So Andrew just showing once again, maybe he pushed the right buttons, and he has reeled in all by himself, John, without any help. You can see right up the road, that is the 55. And the 15, only one lap car in between him and 2 spots on the racetrack.
Yeah, Copeland with that Chick-fil-A car, once again, it makes me hungry. But, yeah, I mean, that's probably your closest battle on the track right now, too.
Yeah, and I know our cameraman sees what I see. Fastest lap of the race last time. A purple sector for Andrew Kotska, man. He's ready to go. A 1:38.01 here with older tires and a full tank of gas, John. I think he's found the right buttons to push here. He's ready, but he's starting to come up on lap traffic. And now Tom Ogle all over the rear end of the 51 of Jerry Isaacs here. It's looking like Tom was maybe thinking about a pit, but he already pitted. So what am I thinking, John?
Everybody's all over the place. It's kind of tough to keep track of everybody out here. You got so many different agendas with short pitting and tires, no tires, fuel, all that kind of stuff. It's this is a pretty cool deal, though, to still see some cars close together, like we said with Copeland and Wisman there. But yeah, I'm watching Kotska. I think he's by far been about the smoothest driver outside of your leader. Courtney Nelson's been on point here a good part of the way now that he's in rhythm and everything else. You know, I would really almost hate to pit too, because you lose that rhythm when you come in there and pit. It's almost like a caution. So, you know, there's why I'd be really wanting to see if I could make it to the end just because of that.
Yeah, but sadly, I don't think at the pace he's been going, he's going to be able to make it to the end. But I'll tell you what, this battle, Ryan's had it on. Tom Ogle has just been searching for any piece of real estate to get by this 51, and Jerry's done a good job. He hasn't been blocking under braking, but he's doing a good job of parking that thing right in the racing line on entry, and Tom really doesn't have anything he can do.
Yeah, you know what? I'll bet you those guys are just having an absolute blast doing this too. You know, they look like they're having fun. Oh, we got one off the track in front of them. He's going to hold the brake there, not go out there. That's a good decision there by the 105 car.
Yeah, the car behind him got a little sketched about that 105. He goes off the side there on the outside, but right now those two continue. And Tom, if he wants to make the move here, this would be the time, but not going to be able to do it. And they're the 105. You see, you just over-rotate the car a little on entry, John. You drive in a little too deep. Exactly like you said. That rear end got light, and if he didn't lock up the brakes, that thing was going to go around.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to do, especially with some of the elevation changes around here too, you know. And the other thing too is, you know, when you're on an oval, you do get into a rhythm, and you know, it's rare that you get out of a turn and, you know, all of a sudden you're carrying more speed into the next corner. You can drive the corners the same way you do almost the whole race, depending on your tires. Well, here, if you get a really good launch, next time your braking point for that next corner can change completely. If you get a great launch out of a corner and you've been braking the same spot, all of a sudden you're carrying 5-6 miles an hour more, you can get behind on your steering real quick.
Yeah, big move under braking there by the 11 of Tom Ogle. Got him at the end of what used to be a long backstretch here, but we didn't think we'd see a lot of passing because you can't really build a lot of momentum up now coming out of the S's. But Tom, able to drive it in there, and I think maybe he's listening to us, John, because Andrew is reeling these two in. I think he knew he had to get around that 51 and go here and really flex his pace.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Kotska, I think, is going to run out of time here.
Yeah, definitely not looking the best for him here, but you know, the one thing he does have going for him, I guess, you know, Your leader, Courtney Nelson, won't have to maybe load that thing up full of fuel if he's got the estimate exactly right. But,
Yeah.
you know, there's a chance he could spend a little more time on pit road than the 51. Or than the 107,
possible, but, you know, iRacing now has that, you know, that where you can get your gas filled to get you to the end. So, you know, all the having to do the math on the fly really has been kind of taken care of to a point, though.
No, we saw the 107 here. He's all over the back of the 15 of Daryl Weininger. Can he make quick work and try to go battle with the 55 of Dale Copeland right up the road? Oh, look at the 92 of Hislop. He went around, John. Able to keep it out of the wall, but man, that's really going to cost him some time.
Yeah, I mean, 45 laps around here. I think everybody at some point, most everybody, is going to find trouble like that. It's just, you know, shaking it off and trying to limit those mistakes.
I'll tell you what, look at the respect out of Daryl Weininger just getting out of the way of Andrew Kotzka. I think they maybe want to go see what this rookie can do. They see a lot of pace in this 107, and maybe, you know, this is a case, John, you'll hear me say it a lot this year, but that's a free driving lesson right now when you get behind a guy that's just absolutely burning through the racetrack.
Yeah, well, the thing is, to have a driving lesson, you got to stay with him. Everybody he passes, he's leaving behind, so the lesson's minimal.
Yeah, able to make quick work there, though, the 55. And I'm telling you, Dale Copeland said, go on by, rookie. Let's see what you can do. Nobody making this 107 work hard for it. And I love it, man. He's got a lot of pace, and good chance we get our first Rookie of the Year, John, on a podium. We haven't had a driver with the number 100 finish on the podium yet this season.
No, we sure haven't. And Kotzka right now, knock on wood, we don't want to put the curse on him. So, but yeah, he's getting her done, and he may not be done here at third. You know, those other guys, if they have a slip up, I got a feeling he's going to be right there. But there's a lot of track between he and first and second.
Yeah, I wish I knew the exact number. I wish I could give you guys more detail, but right now, Kotzka about 30 seconds back on Hill, so that's got to be pretty close to that pit stop, John. I mean, that's got to be pretty close to the number.
Yeah, I would think so, but 30 seconds, I mean, that's about a third of a lap here. So for people to get perspective, I mean, that's a heck of a lot of blacktop to try to cover.
Yeah, it definitely is, and he's going to need a lot of clean racetrack to do it, as right now that you're watching the 7 of Daniel Hill. He got somewhat of a clear racetrack. He's been by himself there in P2. At some points, he was creeping in on your leader, but I think it's just kind of the reins in and making sure he keeps this thing on the racetrack, because that 7, one of the cleanest looking cars we've seen, and looking at my off-track numbers, he's only gone off track twice compared to the leader, who's gone off 4 times. And Josh Robinson's, along with Jerry Isaacs, are the only 2 drivers I see at the 0 mark. So they're playing it as safe as they can. And I'm surprised, John. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. I keep sleeping on the talent of these guys. I thought with that 17X, I thought we were going to dwindle. But boy, oh boy, man, every week they slap me in the face and surprise me. These are some of the best drivers I've ever seen.
Yeah, as a group, as a whole, they really are. And what they're doing is impressive. I mean, I hopped out here and took some laps in a Cup car at this track earlier today. And, you know, and I'm not the most talented guy in the Cup car, but you know what? I spent more time off-roading than I did on the proverbial racing line.
Yeah, and you know, John touched on that. The problem with that too, going off track, is now with iRacing, you pick up all that rubber and dirt, as we see the 55 of Dale Copeland finally come down pit road, and that should cycle him back to around 10th or so. But the 50. Oh yeah, this is actually, you know what? My cameraman gave me a perfect time, or perfect thing, and we have this thing on our SDK. I don't think we can show it to you anyhow, but we have a pit loss time. And let's see, so far, coming down pit road. He's at about that 34, 35. Now, obviously, some of this he's driving. And now he's coming up to full speed. But it's telling me 40 seconds, John. 40.6 seconds.
Yep. That's getting on and getting off pit road. And that's, yeah, I mean, and that's why I was saying, you know, you figure that out. And, you know, when you got a 30, 35-second lead, maybe you get those tires. But maybe there's no need to actually even let them get that close, you know. Just go in there and get your fuel. You're going to have to take less fuel. You might even be able to, you know, make him work to get back up there. Make him use his stuff to catch you.
I think you're exactly right. We had hey Ryan, I tell my cameraman, I think we had someone join us. You can't hear it because you're in spectator mode, but you may want to kick him out here. There we go. Yeah, sorry. We get a little beeps and bangs that you guys don't hear when someone joins in because it's weird. And well, I just had to save us of maybe something that they didn't want said over the air. But right now, John, we are way over that halfway point as we're on 29. And this thing, it's been pretty much clean as a whistle.
Yeah, I was going to say, airlines and boats call those stowaways.
yeah, there we go. That's the perfect word. That's what I'm going to say now. We have a stowaway in here. Okay, that's the code. All right, that's a good one. I think. Let's see here as we hop around trying to find some racing on the racetrack. How many guys do we have left on the lead lap here? 17 drivers, according to my wonderful cameraman. And that last driver on the lead lap, Roger Hurley. Okay, correction, 11. Don Easterland is the last car on the lead lap here as everything cycles through. But,
you know, Zach, now that we've gotten a little bit late in the race, you know, we should probably mention this. There's a few guys in here that I know that dabble in sports car racing. Well, you know what? If you're used to running those stints, you know, like, you know, you run Daytona or whatever, that's about a fuel stint. It's about 45 minutes. So, you know, I know they run X amount of time, so they're accustomed to being in these cars, but that's in an oval setting. I would think now there's some advantage, maybe, some of the guys that do a little off-road road racing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more because, I mean, like I say, we're not trying to paint this as you have to be the world's strongest man to do this, because obviously you don't, but this really does wear on you, and it's just as much mental as it is physical, and if you've got the experience, if you've got the laps on the racetrack, it's always going to come to your benefit. Now, Daniel Hill, P2 pitted. Just got off pit road. He is about 3.5 seconds up the road on Andrew Kotska. So you got to think Kotska may be in the battle for second here, but if Courtney can keep this thing straight and on the racetrack with that 39-second lead, that might just be a little too much for this 107.
Yeah, boy, that's a big swing there after that pit stop. Now, you know what Koska's got to be careful to do, because you know what? You can see that in your relative. If Andrew's looking at his relative, all of a sudden that number just got axed, and you can almost taste that guy in front of you. Then, you know, then you got to be careful then not to overdrive, not to start pushing to try to catch them, because if you start doing that, that's where your mistakes tend to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing a little bit. The 107 is sliding a little bit in some of these corners. I watched that last lap time. It dropped the second to what he had normally been doing. Now, yeah, you come across a little bit of lap traffic, but you said it, John. Sometimes when you see the trophy right in front of you, man, the nerves can just get to you, and it really throws you off.
Yeah, you start pushing. You're like, okay, I can get if I can shave this much time off of him this lap, or this much time the next lap, rather than just doing what you've been doing. Yeah, that's where trouble can happen, because number one, then you're starting to get outside of your talent levels, but you're also starting to step out of bounds of that rhythm. You know, those bounds that you are comfortable in playing in, and what you've been doing the whole race.
And there we saw Josh Robinson and Tom Ogle on our screen there for a quick second. Those guys are teammates, man, and after 30 laps find themselves bumper to bumper here going into turn one. You know those guys, John, are just having a blast in that Discord, talking back and forth to each other, who's going to beat who, because right now it really is, it's a race amongst these two for P4.
Yeah, outside of Daytona, you know, whether it be, you know, you, Steven, Aiden, you know, it's a lot of fun when you can race your teammates and kind of have fun and, you know, talk a little trash on the way. That really is really cool to be able to do and have fun with.
See that gap cut down to P2. It's down to about 2.5 seconds as Kotska in the 107 reels him in, and still have yet to see your leader, Courtney Nelson, come down pit road. We're coming to lap 33 this time, John. You got to think maybe 2-3 more laps at most for the leader.
Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know how much he's been saving with that pedal, because you got to remember too, he's been pretty smooth. You know, you can save gas if you're that far head and shoulders above everybody else. You can save gas on a track like this and still be leading.
Yeah, you really can, John. And I mean, I know a little bit about that, but I'll have you touch on it more. When you're that far out in front and you don't have a guy breathing down your neck, I mean, what are some things you can do? You can lift off the gas a little bit earlier and maybe brake later, you know, do a little bit of lift and coast. I mean, can you do that stuff here in the next gen car?
Yeah, the coasting part especially. You know, you can get in there and, you know, lift early, coast through the corner. The really, really good guys, if they really are trying to save fuel, they can clutch it when they go around some of these corners just to save the fuel that way too. You can't do it on every corner, but there is a couple of corners here where you can clutch it and just let the car coast, not burn up fuel.
See there, the 33 goes. He opts out of pit road one more time, comes on lap 33 or 3. He's pretty confident in this thing right now. And you talked about it, John. I mean, all it takes is maybe a pit stop to throw you off your rhythm. And you don't want to do that. But man, oh man, just when I say maybe he's not going to be able to catch him and make a run. Last time by, John, Andrew Kotska, we had our first race lap in the 137s, a 137.92.
Tells you he's pushing to catch him. And but you know, I'm going back to this 33 here for a minute. You know, we talked a second ago about you get lap traffic in front of you. Hey, you know what? I'm going to pit so I don't have to deal with this. Well, he's got clear track ahead of him, so that might also be figuring into his thinking, because you know, if he pits, he doesn't know where he's going to end up or who he's going to end up around. So, you know, hey, you got a clear track. Get what you can get until you have to pit.
Yep, and then right after I said he ran a 137, he comes across the start-finish line after being in lap traffic, a 141. So as quick as you can get it, that's as quick as you can give it back. 33. Absolutely loving this. I mean, he's going to pit with a 40-second gap at minimum here, John.
Yeah, I think he's just, you know, burning laps here to build that gap. It looks like he's coming in.
He is. This is important. He's got to woe this thing down, keep it out of the wall.
Then he's got to get off of pit road. He's got to navigate that turn at the top of the hill after he gets out too. But here's a question: Does he take tires here? Yeah,
that is a good question. And Ryan, I think we got to stay on the race car here. Let's not click away. Let's see if this thing jacks up, because he goes with tires. You got to think they're going to come out very close, because before Daniel went in with a 30-second gap over Kotska and took no tires.
Yep,
So that
fuel only.
10 seconds. Yep, fuel only. And he rolls off pit road. I'm watching P2 on my screen, and Kotska right now is entering the final corner to go on the front stretch. Daniel Hill up the road. They're that full straightaway behind. You gotta like what you're seeing out the rearview mirror.
Yeah, and Nelson now can shift. You know, he doesn't have to, you know, put out, you know, banger laps here. He could just settle in. But here's the thing: now he's got guys in front of him. You know, and you saw 2 and 3 seconds. So I don't think you're gonna, you know, give up that much time. But one of those guys in front of him get in trouble, I'd be a little worried about getting caught up in something, but it doesn't look like those guys are even remotely worried about it. holding him up. They're just getting right out of his way.
Yeah, and you talked about if a guy does have trouble in front of you and you're involved, John, we do have that quick repair, man, but it's such a long way around here to get in and use that thing that if you're Courtney, even with the lead you have, hitting twice, you got to think that would be the nail in his coffin.
Yeah, I would think if you got to pit twice, it's game over at that point.
He's coming up on his first lapper after pit stops, and right now, the lap car doing what he's supposed to do, holding his line, not necessarily getting out of the way. And we may see this affect the lap time of the 33 a little bit. He takes a peek to the inside, 63. Ooh, it looked like he was going to go low, but decided to give him the bottom, and just like that,
63 locked up and went wide.
Yeah, and John, that's something. Maybe touch on us on that. Do you think that's a case of maybe looking in the rearview mirror, seeing the driver come up behind you, and you realize, oh crap, I missed my braking point? Well, you know what happens when you hit the brakes while you're turning the race car.
Yeah, it could be a little bit of that, but also, we talked about it a couple times too about getting marbles and stuff on your tires. You get up out of the racing line, and next thing you know, you just don't have any grip at that point. You go to turn the wheel, car keeps going straight, and that will surprise any driver when that happens.
Yeah, right now you're watching that 12 of Andy Thomas, and right behind him, Josh Robinson. Josh still got Tom Ogle all over that deck lid. We talked about them, 5 laps ago, and Tom has not gone anywhere. He can't find a way around, but he's kept him right out that windshield.
Yeah, it sure has. And I'm telling you, the clouds around this track are kind of starting to look like it's no chance for rain, but boy, wouldn't that be something if we got a few sprinkles here on this bad boy.
Boy, you and I think alike. I clicked that weather tab 10 minutes ago thinking the same thing because I'm so used to the rain from the GT3 races.
Yep, there's a fog coming, but no rain.
Yeah, right now.
That, as they say, would change everything.
Oh, man. I mean, obviously, you got to think, maybe not right away, but with NASCAR having the rain tires now, that's got to be on the road map here for iRacing to bring some wet weather to these road courses.
Well, they do. You can, we run them all the time in the GT3. You can run them in these cars, too. You got windshield wipers on them, I believe, now, too. So I think...
I didn't know that.
I could be wrong, but, But here's the thing, with your 17 incident level, you do not want to have rain. You don't want to schedule a server with rain. That would be problematic.
Yeah, I think the only guys asking for that right now, maybe Daniel and Andrew. Seeing Courtney that far up the road, but yeah, everybody else, you got to think that's definitely not what they want. But you mentioned the 33, John, and he had a lot of lap traffic in front of him. I know he's taking it easy, doesn't need to go hard, but that lead is down into the 12-second mark. He was really struggling to work through lap traffic there.
Yeah, and I'm also looking here. You cannot run these cars in the rain yet because they do not have their windshield wipers on. I know it was coming. Couldn't remember if they had gotten them yet or not. So, this will be one of the cars that you cannot do that in.
I think we got another stowaway here this evening, man. It's been a wild night. But, hey, Isaac's having a lot of fun. Who is that? What car number is that? The 15 there, Weininger right behind him. That's going to be a battle for position on the racetrack.
Yeah, and these guys, man, I tell you, I guarantee it. I know with at least the guys with like direct drive and maybe left their wheels on like a high setting. By this point in time in the race, counting those laps down, I can assure you, their arms are probably starting to feel a little heavy, maybe even be burning a little bit. You said it earlier. I'm really, really impressed here. We've seen just a couple of guys disconnect here, a handful of guys disconnect. I thought it'd be a lot higher than that.
No, yeah, we have 27 guys still out there putting laps down on the racetrack. The most recent to leave was your Daytona 5, or I guess we did 250 miles there, but Mark
your Daytona winner.
Yeah.
Bill Martin's taking it back to the the infield, and so is Matson, Masur, Wurzel, Bates, Pearson, and Lotion. So we have seen a little bit of attrition here, but really nowhere near as bad as what we thought we'd see.
No, and still watching Tom Ogle right off that front end, man. He's reeling in his teammate, and you know he probably wants to so bad just go up there and give him a little kiss going through the S's. But if he upsets that teammate of his, there may be some drama in that Discord. So Tom's got to do this the right way.
Yeah, well, talking to those guys, they race each other clean. I don't even know if that even crosses their mind. But us dirt guys, Zach, a little different. We're wired a little different. But yeah, it's still, you know, it is nerve-wracking, though, I would have to think, from Ogle's position, because, you know, just mistiming something, you can get into the back of somebody when you're running that close. If they even if, you know, Josh overdrives or does something just a little bit different, the closing rate that you would have things would get sketchy really quick. Man, that sure looks like rain west of here. They keep coming through getting ready to go on that front stretch, that little short shoot there. You look off to the west, and it's really does look like rain. Well, there goes Ogle.
Yeah, he's finally able to peek to the inside here going down the front stretch, and it looks like Tom. He's got the preferred line. Going to go up and shut the door now. Josh Robinson, he's got some time here. We still got 7 laps left. So he can work around. That's plenty of time here. I mean, we still got over 10 minutes of racing. That's a lot of time for a driver to make a mistake.
It is, but I think Josh kind of let him go there. And, I mean, when you're running that far up at the end of one of these deals, you just want to bring it home. Because like I said, the points for a 5th and 6th place finish as opposed to a 20th, that's huge. These guys are already, you know, thinking about points, and, you know, and they know every point counts, because, you know, I know it's a ways off before the cutoff in the playoffs, but you know what? If, you know, NASCAR, you see it every year, it comes down to a handful of points. And last thing you want to do is be in that position. Think back to a race like this and say, oh, you know, I just gave that spot away because I got greedy. You know, you give up 10 spots here because you're fighting for a top 5 and you drop a tire, and then, yeah, like I said, trust me, if you're fighting for one of those cutoff spots, this race will stick out in your mind if you did that.
And as we take a peek here, we're watching the 12 roll around, but that gap to between P3 and P2 under 2 seconds now, and Andrew Kotska, I've said it plenty of times, John, but the race car is getting quicker. 1:37.73 last time around. And boy, Andrew's going to wish he had that rookie number off the side and he could have put in a qualifying effort tonight, because he has got a lot of speed.
Yeah, he sure does. And man, you can look at these two. Now, you know, we were talking about when that time gets off, but now he's right out of, you know, the 7's right out of his windshield.
Yeah, and look at the lap car up the way too, doing a good job getting out of the way. And Kotska able to save that too. When I heard you, man, he was a little squirrely there. He's probably wondering what Vic was doing, but Vic doing an excellent job there, getting out of the way. The boss man, he knows how to put together a good series, and it all starts with that R word, John, respect.
Yeah, and I absolutely love Kotska's bumper too. Sorry, with the Canadian flag. I mean, that's just awesome.
Oh yeah, heck, I even have the memo there, yeah, or an SDK that he's Canadian. So this would actually be our first Canadian on the podium this season. Now that I think about that too, if he can keep this thing clean, and well, you know, I think Courtney Nelson maybe heard me talking about Andrew being a quick driver. 1:37.63 leader just put down the fastest lap of the race, John. He's ready to go.
Yeah, I think he's just been managing the gap, managing his stuff. I think he's just no disrespect to anybody else on the track. I just think he's that much better than everybody else right now at this time on the track. So he's got that luxury. He does not have to take too many unnecessary risks.
No, and it's just crazy. I mean, you just see it. You said it. I mean, how good of a driver he is, because he's not pushing that race car. He's got a big lead, but it's just he's done 40 laps at this place, so he's just become more comfortable every single lap, and the car's just naturally found speed without him having to really go searching for it.
Yeah, and Zach, I'm sure I'm not the only one. But how many times on a road course have you said, you know what, I'm just gonna ride, I'm gonna quit pushing. Next thing you know, you're banging off laps faster than you've ever done. It's like, what the heck? Without pushing, without trying, you just driving the track, relaxed. All of a sudden, your lap times, they go way down. So when you're out front and you don't have that rear view mirror full of competitors, you go out there, you can just relax, have fun, and you know what? Sometimes you do go a little quicker that way.
Yeah, and not saying that any of these guys do, but it was definitely something that you and another teammate of ours had to teach me the hard way. A lot of those guys, maybe become a little dependent on that best line, when in reality, that's not what you want to do to the race car. You can manipulate it another way, coast it in, and just drift through some of the S's rather than stop the brakes and upset the car. So it really is, when you get that feel for the race car, that's what it's all about, feel, and just trying to push those limits.
Yeah, you can take little different angles in the corners, pick up a little speed, figure out corners you can cut, and pick up time. When you got a driving line on it, just takes you through the safest, easiest route. But, sometimes jumping a curb will gain you a half a second.
Yeah, and I know it's risky, but sometimes too, clipping those curves the right way, you see the top guys do it. I mean,
yep.
It can help you rotate the car too. So, I mean, it's helping you save tire at the same time, rather than you gripping all that wheel into it. You just upset it over the bumps, help it rotate itself. And that's exactly what we're seeing guys like Daniel Hill do right now. You see him go down, paint the curves with those right sides, and it just helps that car rotate.
I'm starting to think Koska's used his stuff up a little bit. He's fallen back away now, and he's not really closing the gap anymore. And he is sliding that car around. So I think he might have been just driving it really, really hard, trying to close the gap. And I think it's starting to bite him a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, you can really see too as he's getting into that final corner. And I imagine up here as we go into one, his brakes are glowing, John. You can see it. Look at that orange.
Yeah,
right
locking
there.
up. I mean, that second time in a row, he's locked it up there.
And that's something too that normally, I mean, you won't hear John and I talk much about it, but at a road course, using all that brake, John, I mean, what's that do to the tire temps?
It makes them go up a little bit higher, get all that heat up in there. But he's doing it now. He's, I guess I spoke too soon, because he's closed right back up now. Yeah, and he's out, and what he's doing, he's out braking them almost everywhere. I mean, that's really where he's making up the time. Right there, the 7 gets out of the corner, but watch all the gains the 7 makes on corner exit. The 107 here of Koska, he makes it all back up in the. But you know what? That's overdriving. That's putting more heat in the tires, more heat in the brakes. That's a tough way to sustain, but heck, only a couple laps left. You might as well go for it.
Oh, I thought we were going to get a side-by-side there in the S. Is the 15 of Daryl Weininger. Tried to look to the outside of Isaacs through one, but Isaacs held the inside, stayed firm, and Daryl got a couple more laps to go at it again. But right now, our leader just crossed the line, John. We got 3 laps to go here.
Yeah, almost there. The guys really don't want to make mistakes now, because you're not going to recover from anything, and no chance of a caution either to save you.
No, and not that, we're giving Courtney his due. He absolutely dominated this thing, but this is what we're going to have to kind of keep our eyes on. There you see Tatska. He locked up the right sides again, looses the rear end a little bit when he gives it a lot of gas coming out of the corner. He is using that car for all it is worth, man. John, what's the term? Driving like you stole it.
That's about it, man. He is using and abusing that car for sure. And boy, he is so good right through here, coming out of the S's and this little crossover road here to get over here. But man, oh man, he's just not close enough to stick his nose in there and alter the line of the 7 there of Dan Hill there.
All right, John, in your dream world, man, where do you try to set up this pass if you are the 107? Where do you think's the place to get it done?
I think either the top of the hill or coming out of the S's.
Yeah, I think he's been so fast coming out of the S's that if you can't make it work at the top of the hill, that's where he's been making his money. But it's a risky set there, most definitely after that short backstretch. But I think a rookie, maybe trying to bring home Rookie of the Year, a P2 is really going to help that cause. I think he wants this bad.
Yeah, and this is as close as he's been here through this section, getting ready to come out on the front stretch here. Now let's see if he can get a good run. The last couple times, Hill's gotten a better run coming out of this corner. Not this time. This is as close as he's been so far, and he's got one more lap to do it.
Yeah, and you saw Kotska there just lost the rear end a little bit in the center of the corner, and it comes back. He's really stomping on that gas, trying to go. You see how hard he is on the brakes. Going into one, closes up the gap, but the 7 of Daniel Hill, as John mentioned, just gets in the back in the gas a little earlier due to backing the corners up, and he extends that gap. But Andrew using up every inch here, going left to right. See, as close to that yellow curving as he can get without upsetting the car. And this is where
we got a lap car.
Oh, yeah, this could get interesting here. This should slow down. Oh, no!
Boy, you can see that coming.
Go around. Yeah, and had to go around. You got to think that was the battle for P2 right there without it.
There was.
And that's a tough break for Kotska, but at the end of the day, you go off the track, you keep the race car in one piece, and you try to bring home a podium. So you got to applaud that. And at the same time, Daniel, he's trying to hold off P2. So what can you really do there? You're trying to hit the apex, and you just got a car a little slower.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, about opportune time to catch lap cars and opportune time. That little section right there, that news section, that's the absolute worst place you catch a lap car.
White flag in the air this time, John, is Courtney Nelson looks to make one more trip around COTA. And it has been a fun adventure for this guy. Started up front, and other than passing some lap traffic, he hasn't really had any competition anywhere near him this whole time.
I think that's a textbook definition of a Sunday drive.
Amen. Oh, man, you can't ask for much more than that. Go out there, qualify on the pole, have the fastest lap of the race. And I don't think there is, and I don't want to jinx him, knock on the wood, guys, but I don't think there is one bent piece of sheet metal on that race car either.
No, he's been flawless today. It was just an outstanding drive.
Comes down that backstretch. Well, what used to be called the backstretch, I guess we can still call it a backstretch here. Used to be a lot longer until this configuration. Going to come into this right-hander. He's got, let's do some math. That one, he's got 3 more right-handers to go, including that one. The double left here, and man, it's so close. Courtney, I can hear him, John. He's yelling into his wife. He's telling her to get out the champagne.
Yeah, you can almost breathe now. You can, take it real easy here. He knows he's got the distance to do it, So, but I'm going to tell you, Kotska, I've been watching second, third, man. If it hadn't been for a little bit of that kerfuffle there with the lap car, boy, this would have been something else to watch to the finish.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk to him. But right now, it's all about the 33 of Courtney Wilson. Brings home the checkered flag. 3 different winners in 3 different races this season. Courtney Nelson, welcome to the playoffs.
Yeah, just a flawless run here, but it looks like Hill's going to hold on for second, and Kotska's going to come home third.
Yeah, Hill, Kotska able, like you said, John, he was able to gnaw back in it, but at the end of the day, avoiding the wreck going down the backstretch, that was going to be all she rode. Is still got guys going around the racetrack. Tom Ogle in 4th has yet to cross the start-finish line, so I think, unless anybody has some objections here, we got the top 3 over the line.
Yeah, you got 4th and 5th. 4th and 5th are coming out of the line, coming out of the final corner right now.
There we go. There we got him on. And Tom Ogle going to bring home 4th. Defending series champion Josh Robinson rounding out the top 5. And Shane Wisman, he's going to bring it home to 34. It's looking like 6th. And we talked about Shane early on, but he struggled on that pit stop, got caught in the back. Jerry Isaacs able to hold on after the multiple lap battle with Weininger. That was close. Oh, it looked like Isaacs maybe almost lifted a little early there, John. That was close.
Yeah, and I was looking at Wisman's car as he drove across the finish line, and you know, we talk about sponsors, but man, I want to know what Montucky cold drink or cold snacks are. Looks like a beer can with a horse, but hopefully we'll get to talk to him some point in time here in the season, ask him what that's about.
Yeah, definitely an interesting race car. I love that horse design on the side. But as drivers come across here, get ready to close this thing out. Where do we have his lap at? Do we have James on the racetrack still? He's rolling up through the S's. And James, he's already got in the 45 laps. So I think everybody now just moseying back around. I think we've got our running order here, but we're going to take a quick break here on the Virtual Grip Racing Network, and we're going to be right back with your final rundown, and we'll interview your top 3 right after these words. We are back live on the Virtual Grip Network, and John, man, we just had a great 45 laps here, and the man at the top of that charts absolutely dominated the whole show. Courtney Nelson qualified on the pole, led every lap, and won this thing by a whopping 17, almost 18 seconds here as he was just coasting, as John said. Sunday driving out front. Daniel Hill bringing home P2. Andrew Kotska, rookie, rounding out the podium for the first time this season. Tom Ogle, 4th. Josh Robinson rounds out the top 5. Shane Wisman 6th. Jerry Isaac 7th. Daryl Weininger 8th. Dale Copeland 9th. And rounding out the top 10, James Hislop.
Coming home 11th is going to be Greg Hammond, and he's going to be followed by David Brand. Brian Lynch is going to come home 13th. Alan Wanamaker 14th. Roger Hurley going to come home 15th. He is followed by Luke Lane, then Sean Foltz. Eddie Jones. We also have Andy Thomas finishing 19th, and rounding out your top 20 is Chris Walsh.
Bringing home the back 20 here. 21st, Lloyd Moore. Fred Wolford the 3rd, 22nd. Victor Lane, the boss man, 23rd. Don Easterlin, 24th. 25th, Torrance Childs. 26th, Patrick Martindale. Tom Embassy bringing home 27th. Mark Fish, 28th. Bill Martin, 29th. Dave Matson, the top 30. John, take the rest.
Coming home 31st is Kevin Masur. Lee Wardsill is going to come home 32nd, followed by Chris Bates. Robert Grosco is going to finish 34th. Bruce Pearson 35th, and rounding out your field tonight is Christian Lotion.
And now's where the fun time starts here. We get to have a word with our top 3. Let's bring up our 3rd place finisher and rookie in the 107, Andrew Kotska. Man, oh man, Andrew. What an exciting race, man. When you go back and watch this thing, I'll tell you what, you were one of our favorite guys to watch. You had a lot of speed, but with a couple laps to go, man, you had quite an event in front of you. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, that was wild there at the end. I was catching Dan. I thought I was going to have a shot to get second there, but I don't know. I felt like he was like trying to drop a landmine on me out there. That lap car turning on him as he's trying to get around him. That was absolutely wild. But yeah, great race out there. A lot of fun to try to drive through the field there from the back, not getting to qualify tonight. So glad I got a P3 out of this here tonight. It was a hell of a race.
Yeah, it really was. And there was a lot of strategy involved, Andrew, and you were one of the guys who used it to perfection. You start catching some cars in front of you for position, but you're a smart guy. You look out that windshield, you see a lot of lap cars up the road, and you duck down pit road a little early. But, Andrew, that move on pit road, man, you gained 6 spots out there on the racetrack. Was that part of the plan the whole time?
Yeah, I was thinking I was going to have to pit early anyway, start in the back. I thought for sure at some point I'd get stuck behind lap traffic or just traffic ahead of me. So once I saw there was going to be a bunch of traffic, I just headed on pit road and just tried to get as many fast laps as I can at that point to try to get ahead of a couple people there. And it worked out nicely to get me up to 3rd.
Now, you know, a little side question here, Andrew, but we saw the bumper and we absolutely love it. Now, does it work? You know, whenever you bump somebody and they see the rear bumper, the Sorry A, does it actually work on anyone, or is it, you know, just for design?
You know, I think it actually makes guys angrier when they see that, because they're like, oh, that guy's probably not actually apologizing. Oh, he's a Canadian out there. I don't trust him. So, yeah, I'm not sure how it goes, but I feel like they kind of get annoyed by it.
Well, hey, man, we're honored to have our first brother from the North on the podium this season. And, Andrew, first rookie on the podium this season. Heck of a run, man. Can't wait to see what you can do the rest of the season. But before we kick you out of here, brother, who you want to thank?
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys here for broadcasting the series and the entire admin here at OBRL. I mean, they put on an awesome league. I had a couple people that convinced me to join this after I got sick of oval racing, and lots of clean racing in here. And you saw tonight, lots of excitement on the track. So yeah, thanks to all you guys. Also, thanks to any family out there and friends watching the broadcast. Hopefully, it was a great show out there.
Yeah, man, it definitely was. And like I say, when you go back and watch this thing, man, you were a real big part of it. A lot of good racing out there on the racetrack. Great run, Andrew. Can't wait to see what you can do the rest of the year.
Yeah, sounds good. Hopefully we'll chat again soon, guys. Thank you.
And that's our 3rd place finisher, Andrew Kotska. I think John's got a word with our P2 finisher. Who you got, John?
Oh, I've got Mr. Hill, driver of that number 7 car. And Dan, I tell you, you know, you made it interesting the last lap or two there. What was your thoughts when you saw Kotska behind you? And were you just looking out the front window, or was he making you a little nervous?
I mean, I figured he was going to get me before the end. I mean, he was faster than me. You know, but I was just trying to lay my fastest laps that I could lay, and you know, wherever the chips fall, they fall. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun because, I mean, the both of you guys were sliding your cars around. I have no idea how you guys held on to it. Um, was a tire, no, you know, one of the part of the strategy tonight, everybody took fuel on their pits. So how were the tires at the end of that?
Oh, they weren't too bad until you got them angry. When you got them angry, you'd have to cool them back down. There was a couple times where I started really heat the rears up, and I was just sliding all over the place, and I'd have to back off for a couple laps, and and then obviously, Andrew would reel in a little bit further, and then I'd have to get back on it. But it was, I mean, other than that, you really didn't notice too terribly much.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wondered, if you look at everybody's quick lap, it happened. A lot of guys, it happened after lap 40. I mean, 35, 40, and so that's what kind of made me wonder that. And well, I tell you, I've got to ask, a little bit of contact there. Looked like somebody. Well, you guys thought one was zigging when one was zagging, all that kind of good stuff. Walk me through what went through your mind there with the lap car coming onto that old backstretch.
Yeah, I mean, every time that we would catch a lap car going through that cutoff from, the S's over to the backstretch, it seemed like they would want to just like dive to the inside as they exit the corner, which, most of us were trying to like line up the pass for the next hairpin. And, he was up off of the red. So I went in there because at that point I've got to go because I've got Andrew breathing down my neck, and he didn't track out, and I got in the side of him. I feel bad, and it's on me because I have to make the pass clean, but I don't know what else I could have done to hopefully avoid that contact.
Yeah, I can tell you now, watching from the point of view we had, it looked like there was a hole there for a second, and then there wasn't. And how many times you hear that in racing? But yeah, the problem too for a lap guy going through there, if you're off the pace, it's kind of almost like somewhere like Martinsville, you really don't have anywhere to hide. It's really tough to get offline there without wrecking yourself. So in that particular spot, so yeah, I kind of, that looked like probably the toughest section on the track to really get a pass done.
Yeah, it was definitely rough there. I mean, Coda's difficult to pass anywhere. It really doesn't matter. There's no real good spot. Most places you're having to dive, and and it's if aren't playing nice with each other, it's going to end bad, and that's kind of I think what happened there.
Well, I'm going to ask you one last question here. So this is the first time we've ran on this new configured Coda, just like the real world guys. Which one did you like better, the big track or the small compact with a lot of action in it? Because I think you guys are a lot busier than what you've been in the past there.
I definitely like this configuration better. I think to me it flows a little better. The only thing I don't really like about it is, man, iRacing is they give you no barrier whatsoever to or any kind of like buffer to like not get an incident if you go off track. There's some places that you dip one tire off, it's a 1x, and then other places where it looks like you can cut the whole corner and you get 0x. So it makes it difficult, but I feel like this is a funner one to drive.
Yeah, I made that comment at the top of the show. For those of you that watch that cup race, throw that out the window because iRacing track limits are nothing like what that was. But you know what? You guys put on a great show. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before I let you go?
Oh, just my teammates, Josh, Tom, Brian, all the guys that Team Miata, Dale Copeland. Shout out to Victor for putting on some practice this morning so we could all get in there, and shout out to the league, man. 34 drivers to show up at Coda. That's pretty phenomenal. We normally would not have that kind of turnout. So, shout out to all the guys that came out and at least attempted it, and that's, to me, that's what makes this league great. We all come out here, we try our best, and, it makes for a good show. And thanks to you guys for all you guys do too. You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you very much. And we wish you the best luck next week.
I appreciate that, guys.
All righty. That's Dan Hill there finishing second. Zach, I think you've got the guy that kind of stunk up the show today. Was way out front at the end.
Yeah, before we inflate that head a little bit, I do got to say big shout out to Daniel. I mean, we saw the Discord talk this week. We were worried about the car count too, but absolutely every driver in this league, like you've done all season, showed up and stepped up and gave us a great show, and that made it all the more better for this driver of the 33, Courtney Nelson. Welcome to Victory Lane, and welcome to the YesterYear Cup Series playoffs, man. How are we feeling?
I'm feeling pretty all right.
You come out and you absolutely just laid it down in qualifying. You go out and you get to a nice, comfortable 15-second gap. And at what point, Courtney, do we decide maybe we can coast and just go for a little Sunday drive?
About halfway through the race, I was just trying to pace, and I kept making mistakes, and getting around lap cars was difficult, and I felt it was easier just to pick up the lap time. I could hit my marks a little better, so I just kept trying to hit my marks, not really trying to make great lap time. Just it was easier to speed the pace up a little bit to hit my marks than back it off.
Well, then that leads me into my next question, man, because you just about quoted John word for word, because I don't know if you're even paying attention to this, but with about 5 laps to go, a little birdie told me you ran the fastest lap of the race. So was that just becoming more comfortable with the track and you just naturally found the speed out there?
Yeah, I was close, and then my spotter came in my ear and said I think it was the 107 got the fastest lap, and I went, well, let's see if I got any more pace in it.
Oh, I love this. Keep going, Courtney.
A couple laps later, it ended up happening, and then I backed it off a little.
Oh, you have no idea how proud you just made me, because John would be yelling at me, my road course teammate, if he heard me admit to something like that. But, man, that fast lap, it means something. And, Courtney, you're able to bring it home after a dominating race, 45 laps out front. Before I make you do your thank you, how are you actually feeling? Because 45 laps at this place, on a direct drive wheel, dude, that can beat you up a little bit.
It is, yeah. It's a little warm. I'm needing a shower for sure.
All right, man. Well, hey, I won't hold you up too long. Heck of a run, Courtney. Congratulations on your first win, man. Who you want to thank?
Oh, you guys for broadcasting, Victor for running the league, and everything. Everybody that comes out to the road courses for the car count tonight. That was unreal. My teammate James had a good run, top 10. So looking forward to Phoenix next week.
Yeah, man, definitely, Courtney. Hopefully we can talk to you again after Phoenix. Good luck next week, brother.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Courtney Nelson, your third different winner of the season in a league, John, that's just showing the talent. But yet it's wide open for wins. If you find yourself in the right spot at the right time, you can lock yourself into the chase.
Yeah, and I just realized Phoenix is next week. I think earlier today I was thinking Vegas was next. So podcast might seem a little weird this week, but yeah, I can't wait to see these guys actually get in. Phoenix is close quarters racing. Everything we've seen is high bank fast, now a road course. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the schedule here, and see the 1.5 miles here coming up, and like I said, Phoenix here. And keep in mind, Phoenix is where this whole bad boy is going to wrap up. So this should be fun.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Those 1.5 miles, man, that's the meat. That's what NASCAR fans love, and we're about to get into it. But speaking of it, let's go ahead. Let's look at what's coming up next here on the schedule. So obviously, John and our leader, Courtney, touched on it here. We roll into Phoenix Raceway next week at 8 Eastern, as always, next Sunday. But next up for the Virtual Grip Network, this Thursday, we do a little red light racing SK modifieds at the South Boston Speedway. John, I'm not much of a short tracker, but what do we think about South Boston?
Love it. I personally love it. But it's a long historic track, a lot of history at that track, a lot of close quarters racing. That's a track too that you can actually get a second line going. So I think you're going to see some good racing over there.
Well, we were treated to an excellent week 3 here in the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. But on behalf of everyone at the Virtual Grip Network, I'd like to thank my partner, John Hine, and our dude in the back, Ryan Seneker. And of course, as always, last but not least, all of you for tuning in. Have a good night.